Okay, guys, today on the podcast, we are talking about ConvertKit's rebrand to Kit, their big announcement of this. So I'm going to share my thoughts on the name, some different things to consider as we think about like what it looks like to rebrand a company of this size and at this scale. We're going to talk about domain name stuff because yes, they acquired kit.com. And we're going to talk about too how this related to last time ConvertKit rebranded a few years ago and ultimately changed back to ConvertKit in that case. So much to discuss here. I have a spicy opinion on it all that I'm excited to share with you guys as someone who's been a ConvertKit user for many, many years now, who loves the company and supports them wholeheartedly. But again, I also have some thoughts as a brand designer, as a business owner, and as a customer of ConvertKit on this huge move. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about of this name change, don't worry, I'm going to explain it. But I think this will be a really fun conversation, just talking about things happening in like the real world right now of online business and of like creator businesses and all of that good stuff. So really excited to share with you. Let's dive into it. Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, an online educator for entrepreneurs, website designer, wife, boy mom, and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want to dive deep into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a sustainable business that fits your unique lifestyle while standing out in a crowd, then you are in the right place. I created a multiple six-figure a year business in my early 20s, and now in my 30s, I'm still running that successful multiple six-figure a year business on just part-time hours now as a working mom. I'm here to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe that the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, website design, personal branding, mindset, time management as a busy parent, scalable and passive income, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. Okay, so if you're like me, when you first heard this announcement, you thought like, man, that stinks that they're rebranding themselves and probably to a name they don't own the domain for. That was my first thought of like, man, I bet kit.com is not only expensive, but probably unavailable. So therefore they probably don't own it. And then you realize like, OMG, wait, they bought kit.com and they bought kit.co. How many thousands or even like millions did that cost? The next thought, they're really serious about this, clearly. So let's discuss this change. So ConvertKit, if you're not familiar with it, you probably are, but if you aren't, it's an email marketing software company. And as they say on their site, they're more than just a software company. We're here to help you grow your business with email. And I've been a ConvertKit user for many, many years, maybe like 6 or 7 years even, for my own business's email marketing. It's a great tool. I absolutely love them. I also think Nathan Barry, the CEO and founder of ConvertKit, is absolutely incredible. So just know as I say everything I'm going to say here about the rebrand, it's from the perspective of someone who completely loves the software, is a customer and supports the vision regardless of a name change. So just as we get into it, I just want to really say that clearly because I was actually even a little reluctant to record this episode because I'm like, I don't want to like say anything negative almost, but I do want to talk through like, hey, what does this mean? Like this big change from a very recognizable name like ConvertKit to this simple 3-letter word that in my opinion could mean anything, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So let's talk about it though. So ConvertKit's been in business around 11 years, which when we think about that, it's like, wow, so much insane growth in those 11 years because ConvertKit is a really, really successful company. They actually have their company metrics available online for anyone to see. And it looks like they have about 40 million annually in recurring revenue from subscriptions. So very successful company, awesome product, really well established. In 2018, when they first did a rebrand attempt, they were at like half that amount. So at like more like 20 million. So a lot of growth even since then. So Nathan Barry, CEO and founder of ConvertKit, he announced at their annual conference, Craft and Commerce, a few weeks ago, 5 new features that all sound really awesome. And with those features, he announced, hey, we are rebranding we are changing the business name to Kit. And when you read over those new features, in my opinion, and I listened to his speech as well, but there's no clear reason why they need a name change to go with the new features. So just first opinion there, like the features are awesome, but I'm like, wait, why does that mean we have to change away from ConvertKit? ConvertKit works just as well for these different features. Here's a little bit from the announcement that I'm going to read you. So he said, and this is more than just a name change. As Kit, our product philosophy is all about scalability and giving you the actual insight you need to grow your business. And because each creator business is unique, the features in your kit can be tailored just for you. We're building the operating system for the creator economy that starts with an app store where anyone can develop and expand on Kit and bring in extra tools, a central hub for your data with enhanced reporting to pull insights from, and the biggest and best creator network to help you find new collaboration partners. This comes alongside improvements to the features you already know and love and use to run your business. So that's kind of like was a bit of the announcements, and that's the why, that the news features, including things like website building, polls, and app store, all of that's really cool things being added. But I don't think that means that the name has to be changed away from ConvertKit though. So let's talk about when they rebranded a few years ago, and then I'm going to get more into like my take on the name and some specific thoughts about it. But it's clear to anyone looking in, clear to me as like a follower of the ConvertKit story, that Nathan Barry has wanted to ditch the name ConvertKit for a while. He's been really open about that for whatever reason in these 11 years. I think he said even about like 3 years in one of his blog posts about this, that he was wanting to change the name. So I really love the name. So I'm like, I don't see why so much, but this is definitely a thing that he's feeling. So in 2018, ConvertKit underwent a big rebrand to Seva was the name change. And that's SEVA. And when he shared, I read the whole blog post about like, there and back again of when he changed it again, they changed back to ConvertKit. But he said that like about 3 years into the business, they were feeling like they want to do a name change. For the next 2 years, we brainstormed names. We scoured the web for available domains. We searched trademark databases, found everything they wanted was already trademarked, which is a super common problem, right? But he said they had a few criteria back then for the name. It should be one word. We need to own the .com. It can't sound too techy. It should be easy to hear and spell over the phone, and it should mean something tied to our mission. And I totally agree. Like as we think about changing a business name, which by the way, I have a whole guide on naming your business. ElizabethMcCravey.com/name can get you that guide. And those are actually some things I say in the guide, that like not having too long of a business name, you need to be able to own the domain, easy to hear and spell and say and clear in that way, tied to your mission. Like those are all really good things. And he actually shared that they had some strong contenders that for various reasons. One of them was legend.com was one of the names they were interested in. But ultimately at that point, they chose Seva, and they made this big announcement. Had already rebranded everything. It was changed. I was using ConvertKit back then in 2018 when it happened, and I was an affiliate, and I remember going on my website and changing out like on my resources page, the ConvertKit logo to this new Seva logo for the time being, and then it going back in and changing it back. But again, it was a short-lived change. I'm not sure. I'm sure I could find online if I dug a little deeper, but exactly how long they had the name before changing. But it was really quick, and I'm sure a huge financial loss and time loss for the company to undergo this huge rebrand and then change it back so fast. But with the Seva rebrand 2018, the marketing around it was that Seva means selfless service. It's a Sanskrit word, and therefore relates to serving your audience through email marketing and through other tools. Some translations of it doesn't always mean selfless service. It can also just mean like service without the expectation of anything in return, things like that. But man, backlash fast. One headline, if you Google it, reads, ConvertKit is changing their name to Seva, and they are ripping off my culture. So it's a word that has deeply religious meaning for many people. So I think the backlash was like associating selfless service in this word Seva, that is like a cultural religious word, with ultimately what is a marketing and sales tool, was offensive to people. And that was also a name that was announced at the same conference that ConvertKit does every year, Crafting Commerce. So a little quote from what Nathan Barry said at the time when they did that change. He said, ConvertKit doesn't capture the mission we're on to serve you. We need a new name. So again, that's what he also was feeling again this time. But then he said, something that captures how much we care about you and how much you care about serving your audience. We spent the last 2 years coming up with a new name, and Seva is the future of how we are building this company. So they had angry people over this, and they had hurt people over this. And I read that Nathan said he was really inclined most to listen to the hurt people, right, versus the angry people, because I'm sure a lot of people got angry about this and it was more of like a mob mentality type of thing. They actually maybe have not even known what the word was before, but they're like, I'm going to be mad about this because I want to be mad about it. But he said he got on phone calls with people and really like thought this through and they changed back. And he publicly shared they spent over $500,000 on that rebrand. A lot of it was in acquiring the domain name seva.com, which they actually still own. And now that if you type that in seva.com on Google, it redirects to a page about why they are saying ConvertKit. And it says, we listened, we learned, we have a new appreciation for the word Seva, and we won't be changing our name after all. We are sorry for our mistake. Seva is not just a word that means selfless service. It's not just a word that means serving without the expectation of anything in return. It is a holy and sacred practice that involves giving generously to others out of love, tied so deeply to spirituality that it cannot be separated from spirituality itself. So that's kind of their statement. It goes on to say more things if you want to read it. So anyway, this episode is not about that particular rebrand from 2018, but I do think that's like context, right? That ConvertKit has wanted to rebrand for a while. They felt that the name did not fit what they're doing. They've been 11 years into business, tried this rebrand 2018, quickly went back to ConvertKit. So yeah, it shows us for a while that like there's been a desire for a name change, and now the name change is going to be Kit. And ConvertKit's actually doing what they're describing as rebranding in public. So it's funny when he makes in the video, when he announces this, he says like, okay, I'm going to show you the new logo. Just kidding. We don't have a new logo yet. We're actually going to like rebrand with you, and you can follow along and subscribe. So I'd highly recommend doing that if you guys want to follow this process of like, watching like all the steps. Cause gosh, I mean, so much work, right? Will have to be done to rebrand a company the size of ConvertKit. So they're rebranding in public, which is really cool, and get to share that whole process versus just like doing it and being like, okay, everything's done now. So like right now, when you go to convertkit.com, it just has a little banner saying that they're rebranding to Kit, but everything still says ConvertKit. Their social media, their YouTube, all of it still says ConvertKit, but that it's changing to Kit. So anyway, let's talk though about my thoughts on the rebrand as I give you some context now. And I'd love to hear your thoughts too. So I'll post some content about this on Instagram. If you want to come comment and share, like, hey, what do you think about this? What's your take as someone who's maybe a customer or a fellow creator, online business owner? What's your thoughts? So my initial thought, right? I don't love it. Like I already said, I will support them though as ConvertKit or Kit. It doesn't matter. I think they're a great company, but I don't love the name. And I do think ConvertKit's better. But I also think, like I've said, Nathan Barry is a genius founder and CEO. And if you watch the announcement video, which I have watched on YouTube, of his like presentation where then he announces this, you can see his passion for this and his like desire for the name change, his belief in it, which I just love that. And I think there's power in that, right? But I still think ConvertKit's a better name in my opinion, which I know my opinion doesn't really matter, but you guys are listening and clearly like want to hear a bit about this. So let's talk about it though. So first reason I think the rebrand is probably like not the best move necessarily, again, in my like in the business perspective. So ConvertKit has 11 years of brand building in its name, and that's shortened by like this name change, right? Like Kit is so much less recognizable, and there's been 11 years of building the name ConvertKit. Whether or not you're a ConvertKit customer or user, whether or not you're even like someone who might use the software eventually, there's like so much name recognition there that's all lost by changing to Kit, which is like an extremely generic word. And two, that relates to that, you're losing the brand recognition, right? Like I just said. And now Kit doesn't tell us anything about what the company actually does. Like I said earlier, ConvertKit acquired the domain for kit.com and kit.co, and they actually just straight up acquired the entire company that was kit.co. So it's really interesting. I love domain name stuff. I find it really fascinating. How much they spent on this domain, I cannot find online. It's not like public. I'd imagine though, interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravey.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravey.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. Thousands to a million or multi-millions even though. I have no idea. Again, that's just my random non-expert estimate. But when you look at domains that are 3 letters in our dictionary words, they are so few of them even available, but they can be super, super expensive. And again, you can see thousands to millions. They depend on so many factors of searchability, desirability, how specific it is, things like that. But at one point, kit.com was actually a health testing company. And that company was acquired and merged with another company for $55 million at some point years ago. And that's all public information that I found in researching this. And then again, since then, the kit.co people had been using that domain for a while, kit.com and kit.co. But then they lost that domain in 2019. And from what I understand, they lost it because they were just leasing the domain kit.com, but they owned kit.co. And then ultimately, when their announcement, I read this, I'll read it to you guys, but of when they announced that they're going to just be kit.co, not .com, they said on November 21st, and this is 2019, the owners of kit.com domain informed us they were no longer interested in selling to us, and they were going to repurpose the domain for a different property. We were only given 2 weeks to prepare. So that really stinks. They were leasing, seller changed their mind, and they had to change just to kit.co. So again, the world of these super valuable, one word short domains is a weird one. DomainWire had an article about this, and here's what they said about it. This was also from a few years ago, but this was the DomainWire writer saying, I looked at the Whois history for kit.com to see who owns it. The last public Whois record in domain tools points to Kit Electronics Limited in London. According to Companies House, Kit Electronics is linked to some guy named Michael something that says, I can't be sure if he is still involved in the domain, but he appears to have been as of 2015. Whoever owns it might be able to profit from the years of linking activity and content on kit.com. And then it was talking about this domain leasing deal that both parties should consider that it could terminate and that you might not ultimately get the domain. So anyway, all that randomness and interesting domain name stuff to say, kit.com could be anything, right? That history can tell you that it was owned by Kit Electronics. It was owned by this medical company. It doesn't really tell us what they do. And I would also imagine it was probably a really expensive transaction for ConvertKit, which they can of course afford. They're a very successful company, but really expensive potentially because domains are so expensive. But it does mean business, I would say, if they bought the domain. And that's often a thing companies do, right? When they undergo a big rebrand like this, a great way to show everyone how serious you are is to get the .com domain. And that does say hey, we mean business with this. We own the domain. We are claiming this. But again, kit.com is just so not specific. It could mean anything. And alternatively, ConvertKit, although it seems as though they feel as though it doesn't tell enough of what they do, they're doing more than just convert. They're helping you create and all this stuff. It still encompasses all the tools they have, in my personal opinion. Convert is still a good word to describe it. And 2 more reasons to talk through right now. So the product changes that were announced at Craft and Commerce does not require a new name necessarily. It all again, works within the ConvertKit brand. And I think ConvertKit still perfectly tells us what they do. Kit does not tell it any better. I even had the thought with since it seems they're hung up on like not liking the word convert, that like creator kit, like something that just is like more specific than kit. But again, ConvertKit has also said very clearly that they were wanting it to be a really short domain. That's been a desire from when they did Seva as the change, and a desire now as well. But with the emphasis, if you listen to his presentation, there's a big emphasis on kit, like kit being like your kit for all these different things, your kit for growing your business. In my mind, I feel like they could have kept the name ConvertKit and I'm focused the like marketing language instead on like, it's your kit for building your website. It's your kit for growing your email list. It's your kit for like this creator economy and making connections and networking. Like you could kind of do that angle more. So yeah, I just feel like the new products, I'm really excited about the new like products within the ConvertKit brand, but I don't think those new products require the name to be changed. And last thing, people often resist a new name for a while and sometimes forever when companies change names. So I think it's very possible that like long term, and at least for a few years, which again, it's not a reason to not change your name, but it's just like, I think it's going to happen. People are going to still want to call it ConvertKit versus just changing to Kit, because again, ConvertKit has all this brand recognition. We're used to saying it works well. I know within my business, we talk about ConvertKit all the time. I often abbreviate it in internal like documents to team members. I'll put CK, and we all know that means ConvertKit. I do CU for ClickUp. We have those kinds of things going. And now I'll just write Kit, but it's like people have that like brand recognition there. And as an example of this, Twitter, they rebranded when Elon Musk purchased Twitter to X. That was July of 2023. So about a year ago, right, from when you guys are hearing this. And not that long ago, and I personally don't use X, and I did not use it when it was Twitter either, so I'm less in the loop here. But I rarely, if ever, I actually am like, have I ever heard this? I don't hear anyone just call it X. Everyone wants to call it Twitter. So people will say, oh yeah, on Twitter. Oh wait, I mean X. That's what you hear more often, because Twitter had incredible brand recognition, years and years in the making, and he was erasing all that with this new name and a very clear obsession. Talk about domain names. Elon Musk had owned X.com for like a gazillion years. I don't even know the full story of that. I've known it at one point, but can't remember it now. But he's owned X.com. He really wanted to use it. He buys Twitter, changed it to X. But people don't necessarily call it that. And he erased all this beautiful brand recognition that Twitter had for years and years and years. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts. I think ConvertKit will do well no matter what. That's like my biggest take on this, I guess, is that like they're such an awesome company with such an awesome CEO and founder and great team and great software that I'm like, y'all are gonna rock it no matter what. But I like the name ConvertKit better than just Kit because it has that brand recognition. It's longer. It tells us a bit more about what it's doing. And I think the word convert really translates well to all things marketing, which is also what ConvertKit is doing, right? These are all different marketing tools help you grow your business. And the word convert, although it seems like they might be thinking it's like too technical, I think it's a word we all are used to using as business owners to talk about different things that we do in our business, right? We are helping convert. I know for me, like as a website designer, I use the word convert all the time to talk about website stuff. And it's true of other things as well, like email marketing and other tools like that. And again, it's really cool. ConvertKit is doing this unique thing of rebranding in public where they're going to share the steps, share the behind the scenes, and they'll officially be switching the name to Kit in September. But then they decide to announce it soon. And like I said, he got up there and said, I'm going to show you the new logo. Wait, we don't have a logo yet because we're actually rebranding in public, which that's something I've always just loved about ConvertKit as a company is how open they are. Like they love to share things as it's happening. Nathan regularly like blogs his experience of running this company. And they're really open with their own numbers and stats and things. And as far as I can tell too, I haven't mentioned this yet, but it does seem like the response to this name change has been really positive. So I'm like, this might be like one of the only episodes out there saying that like, wait, like, is this like, I don't know that I love it, but I do think they've had a good positive feedback, which is great. And obviously very different than the experience when they changed to Seva and got like immediate backlash. So it's been positive this go around. And again, I think they'll be successful no matter what, but I like the name ConvertKit better. So that's it, friends. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And again, when this airs, come over to Instagram and continue the conversation with me. I'm going to post a reel or post of some sort. And I would love for you to comment and tell me like, hey, What do you think? Do you like the new name? Maybe you're over here thinking like, no, Kit is perfect. Like that's everything. Like that encompasses the name. Or maybe you're more like me. You're like, wait, ConvertKit has all this great brand recognition. It's still really clear. It's more clear if anything. I'd love to hear your take on it. And I'd also love to hear from you if you want more episodes like this, where I talk about like real world news, headlines, and things happening in the world of online business. Because I do have some other topics as well that I'm interested in tackling in this kind of vein of things of like business acquisitions, name changes, and just different headlines. So let me know if you want more of that. And again, hope you enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to hear your take on what you think about ConvertKit changing to Kit. All right, I'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks, guys. Hey, thank you for listening to the podcast all the way to the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on elizabethmccravey.com, you'll find Show It website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you make more money from your website. Maybe your current website is really boring, maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe it's even the thing you feel like is holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my templates do. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, not just pretty, and also strategic with all the strategies I teach on this show, and they are easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravey.com/shop and come join thousands of happy customers using these templates. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off your template as a thank you for being part of the podcast fam. Again, that's BB Podcast for 10% off any template over on elizabethmccravey.com. Also, if you loved this episode, leaving a rating and review for the show on wherever you're listening or sharing it with a friend is a great way to support this podcast. Thank you again for listening, and I'll be back next week with a new episode.